Hello, everybody, and welcome back. If this is your first time here, welcome to the channel. Now, today we're going to be going over shadow boxing. So, as we continue through the progression, we start off with stance, footwork, basic body mechanics, how to throw punches. The next thing we're going to focus on is how to put all those things together. If I had to say there was one of the most overlooked training methods out there, it would be shadow boxing. Right? A lot of times I have new students come in, they feel kind of goofy doing it, they don't know what to do. That's quite all right. I'm going to take you guys through it step by step, just like I do my new students. Now, before every class, this is what we do every single day, is our shadow boxing. I'd say it's the most fundamental, most important thing to practice before we start getting into focus mitts and heavy bag and things like that. So first off, the purpose of shadow boxing is mastering your body mechanics, getting used to moving everything and comfortable. That's where you start to learn your balance, how to connect all the different motions together from pivoting to punching to movement and all of that. And this is where we really practice. Take your time, go slow. You don't have to do shadow boxing fast. That's one of the great things about it. You could do your shadow boxing slow and methodical. You could do it quick for speed, agility, however you want to do it. There's many different ways just to mix it up. Now, let's say this is your first time doing it. What I typically do when I bring new students in, right, we start learning our stance and our footwork, then that's all you practice shadow boxing, right? You get in your stance and you just start moving around, getting used to changing directions, practicing what you learn. And every time you come to class, you're learning something new. Maybe it's a punch technique, right? And this is a little down the road, but maybe you start learning how to do elbows, you're starting to learn knees, right? And so you just over time, you go from moving around footwork, start adding a little head movement, add some punches, right? Maybe you add a couple elbows, and over time, you have many different things that you're just putting together and you're getting used to moving. So what we're going to do today is I'm just going to take you kind of step by step and build it up and show you how we do it basically. Give you tools so that you can practice it on your own. And the great thing about this is if you don't have a lot of space, that's perfect, right? You can see where I'm at right now. It's going to be in a nice smaller area. You just get used to moving. Again, we're focusing on body mechanics and just getting our form down. So what we're going to do today is we're not going to get into the kicks or the elbows or knees or anything like that. We're going to put together what we've been working on, right? And again, that's taking you step by step. One of the other important things about shadow boxing is, I'd say, at a fundamental level, right? This is where you're practicing your body mechanics and your form and putting it all together. Over time, and even in the beginning, it's fine, but over time, that's when you want to start picturing an opponent in front of you. So essentially, inside of your mind, you're fighting with somebody, right? And you're practicing your blocks and your movements and your distancing, and you're starting to create this visualization of all these different types of attacks coming at you. You're moving, you're pivoting, you're trying to do everything correct. Well, by the time you end up facing a real opponent, you've already done this stuff in your mind over and over and over again. So doing it out with another person, it's no big deal, right? It's already been done. And that actually goes into the concept, and a lot of athletes do this, is visualization. If there's something you want to achieve, something you're striving for, picture it first. So all of these techniques too, it works the same way. So when I go down the line, and if I'm explaining how to do a jab or a cross or a kick, whatever it is, picture yourself doing it in your mind first. And then have your mind tell your body what to do, right? Start from the hip, push the elbow out, keep it down, rotate, all those little things. And you start putting those pieces together in shadow boxing. And before you know it, you don't even think about it anymore. And it's as simple as walking or pointing. Another piece of this, right? And this is what I tell all my students. And the way the progression works is it's I don't want to say easy, because when you're learning something, you do have to put in work, but typically the first thing that you start to feel comfortable with is the shadow boxing portion, right? I mean, like you're moving around and you're punching, right? You start to feel comfortable with it. You're holding your form. And then what we find is when you start implementing pads, now you have to master the timing and the distance and putting together the motion with speed and power, right? And sometimes that takes some time, right? And once you get that, you'll feel like my shadow boxing so tight and crisp. I'm hitting the pads real nice, fast, crisp, and powerful. But then when you have an opponent in front of you and you start sparring, some of those things start falling off a little bit. Now you got someone hitting you, you're avoiding attacks, you're trying to attack, and your form starts falling apart. And then we start tightening it up a little more and a little more. And before you know it, you're going from shadow boxing to hitting the mitts to going up against an opponent, and everything is the way it should be, tight and focused, good form, good agility, distance, you name it. And that's typically the progression. And as the difficulty increases, it begins to reveal more and more things in your form that's fallen apart, or stuff maybe you just didn't concentrate on as much. And that's how we perfect our game over time, right? Little by little, piece by piece. So let's get into the shadow boxing portion, okay? Fundamentals of shadow boxing. We're not going to start going into a highly advanced concept of it just yet, right? That's down the road, and we'll continue to increase the progression. For now, this is taking what we've learned and starting to put it all together, right? The way it should be. So first thing we want to do, right? Let's get in our stance. Let's feel comfortable in our stance. So I want to make sure I'm nice and balanced, right? I could bend my knees, my hips, right? My hips are engaged. My core is over my center, right? And I just start getting used to moving. You can take little turns here and there, bend your knees, right? And this is just the basic shadow boxing here, just getting used to moving, right? Back, forward, staying on my toes. So what I'm focusing on here is just staying light on my feet and staying balanced. Every time I move, I want to come right back to my stance. I don't want to leave my stance at all. So this is the first part of it, right? Just getting used to moving in our stance, nice and easy. And as you can see, it's 360 degrees here. I want to fight every angle around me, just getting used to moving. Okay, nice and easy. Bending our knees, changing angles. Remember our push, shuffle forward, back, left, right, some basic circling. Maybe I get a full quarter in, maybe not, just a couple little turns, right? So after I get used to my footwork, the next thing I want to do is I want to start adding some punches here, right? And if we think back a little bit, some of the punches we've gone over, we went over our jabs, crosses, hooks, right, to the head and to the body, uppercuts, okay? We've got our shovel hook, or modified, call it, right? It's in between a hook and an uppercut. Just get used to moving around, right? Jab, cross, throw a couple jabs out there. I'm focusing on moving my hips, changing angles, okay? So let's say all you know how to do is footwork. That's all you work on. And then once you learn punches, then you add punches to the mix. Making sure your other hand is up, elbows in. I'm pivoting, I'm throwing from my hip, just throwing them out there, nice and relaxed. Okay? And you just go, build up your speed a little bit. You don't have to go super fast for now. Getting used to moving and punching. And then you start having a little fun with it. Just kind of zone out a little bit. It's almost meditative to me. All right, you could add a little head movement. We haven't gone over that quite just yet. But if you have it, go for it. Throw it in. Should do this, I'd say a good 5 to 10 minutes every day. That's all it takes. As you get more and more comfortable with it, the movements come natural and you just relax. And every time you learn something new, just throw it in there. Get used to mixing it up, moving around, right? If I had to name the biggest challenge that people have when they're learning this, it is just I'd say just getting over being timid about it, especially if you're in a classroom setting, right? And I come across this a lot. People feel, I would say, kind of shy or embarrassed about it. Don't worry about it. Everybody's in class trying to get better and practice. Same thing. Like I said, you don't even have to go fast. If you're worried about it, just go nice and slow. This is shadow boxing too. Just working on your form, nice and easy. And that's all it's about. Do this every single day, 5 to 10 minutes, and your form's going to get really good. Right? So again, something I want to emphasize, and I'm going to be stressing this all the way through, right? Shadow boxing is not fighting. It is an exercise that helps you to develop your tools for fighting. To neglect the shadow boxing, yeah, your form might not be there. And that's why it's such a great exercise to do, especially, I don't know how many of you out there travel for work. This is great exercise to do when you're in the hotel room, right? If you don't have a gym to go into, you start shadow boxing in the hotel room. You can do it in front of the mirror. And the mirror is actually a great place to practice, right? Checking your form, making sure your hands are up. Some of the schools that I trained in, as I was up and coming, there were mirrors all along the walls. And it was fantastic because you get to check your form through everything you do. And if you notice something's out of whack, be honest with yourself and you fix it up, right? And that's a whole nother concept, right? Is being honest with yourself. In order to progress and get good at what you're doing, you have to be honest with what you're doing, right? No ego, none of that. There's no room for that. Critique yourself. If something's not right, be honest and fix it.